Welcome back to our little cottage here on the river in the far north of Idaho. So it is now September, and even though it's still pretty warm, there's definitely a change in the air, and fall is going to be here very, very soon. And so I wanted to get a start on making my fire cider and my fermented honey garlic. And I have never made fire cider before. This is just something I've learned about in the past year. I have made the fermented honey garlic honey, whichever order you want to say it. But I have made that before, and we absolutely loved it. But each of these things needs about 4 weeks to get a good ferment on them before they're kind of ready to start being consumed. So I wanted to get a jump start on it now, so they will be ready, around the beginning of October, when the weather really starts to change here in North Idaho. And just have those on hand for cold and flu season, just for when we maybe start to feel a cold coming on, or even just taking a little bit every single day, just to kind of help support our immune systems as we head into fall and winter. So to get started, I'm going to start with the fire cider. And as I said, I've never made the fire cider before. So this is my first time making this. And all of the recipes, I looked up a bunch of different recipes. And so as with anything, there's kind of variations. The main thing you want to remember is it's half apple cider, and then apple cider vinegar, half vinegar and half honey. So that's the ratio. So that's the base of it. And then I'm going to use the Bragg's organic, raw, unfiltered apple cider vinegar for this. And this even has the mother in it. It's unpasteurized, just really, really good apple cider vinegar. So that's the vinegar I'm going to use. I'm just going to use this is supposedly a local raw honey. It says Idaho raw unfiltered honey. It's from Costco. I do have a little farm store that I do like to get some local raw honey from. I just was at Costco and needed the honey, so I grabbed this. But yeah, I think the main thing is just make sure you're using a good raw honey. And also, a lot of the recipes called for like rosemary and thyme, like fresh rosemary and fresh thyme. My rosemary plant, for some reason that I planted this year, just did not do well. And and I've grown rosemary before and it did awesome. So I'm not sure what happened with my little rosemary plant. So I'm not going to put any rosemary or thyme in this batch. Obviously at the store they do sell fresh rosemary and fresh thyme, but it's so expensive. And so I'm just going to leave it out, and that's okay. It's not a requirement. My little grocery store here in town did not have fresh turmeric root, but it did have the ginger root. So I'm just doing ginger. I have some powdered turmeric, organic, turmeric that you would use for cooking. I'm going to go ahead and throw some of that in there. And then I have a bunch of jalapenos from my garden. They're pretty small. And so I'm going to throw some jalapenos in there, some onion, a lemon, and an orange. And then also a bunch of garlic. And so, so it's a little different than maybe some of the recipes that you would see on, if you go and search on Pinterest, there's a bajillion different recipes. So, you can follow my recipe if you want, or go find another one. I'll have it in the description below, just exactly what I did. And then you know, as I said, it's one of those things where you can play with it however you want. And then for the fermented garlic honey garlic, all it is garlic cloves, like peeled garlic cloves and honey. That's all it is. It's very, very simple. So I'm going to start with the fire cider. And so I'm just going to go ahead and actually I'm going to add all of the, before I add the honey and the cider, I'm going to add all of these ingredients. So first I want to make sure I'm going to scrub my orange and my lemon because you're going to leave the peel on. So I really want to make sure that I get get it pretty clean. All right, so I'm just going to slice these up really simply. And typically you see people making them in a gallon size jar, and this is a half gallon. So the amounts that I'm going to use are, about half of what you would typically see in a recipe. So I'm only using half of the orange and half of the lemon for this. Whereas if you had the whole gallon size jar, you could do obviously the full lemon and the full orange. I mean, you could also add lime to this if you wanted. I mean, you can really play around with it. I saw some people added elderberries to it. I do have a bunch of elderberries in the freezer that we harvested when we went huckleberry picking. But I'm actually going to use those. I'm going to dehydrate those and use them for making just a simple elderberry tea. And we'll have that as well. Elderberry is so good for your immune system. And so it's really nice to have elderberry tea in the fall and winter months. So throw your lemon in there. Okay. Then we've got an onion. And this is a smaller-ish onion, so I'm not sure. I'll see here. I'm not sure if I'm going to use the whole thing or not, or just half of it. I think maybe just half of it, since I'm just using the half-gallon jar. So I'm just roughly chop that up. And then we've got our little jalapenos. And I'm going to leave the seeds in these. These are from my garden. They're not very big. This is the first year I've grown jalapenos and was successful, like relatively speaking. My plants have a ton on them, but they're very small. So I'm not sure if there was something like I needed to prune the plants or something. But anyway, they're nice little jalapenos. So and then just chop these up, just slice them up actually. And I'll probably just do 2 or 3. And you can probably start to see why they call this fire cider. I'm very curious to taste this when it is done and see what it tastes like. I'm sure it is. Hi. What you doing? Mama's making some fire cider. Then I have some ginger. I bought too much ginger. I did not need to get 2 of these. So I'm just going to use 1 and I'll save that one for something else. And then you can just peel your ginger with a spoon. Which this trick, when I learned this trick, it was a game changer. When it came to fresh ginger, I was always trying to just like carefully cut the skin off the ginger. And it was a hassle, and plus you lose a lot of ginger that way. So all you do is just take a spoon and scrape. comes right off. Okay, so I've got this chunk cleaned off, and I'm just going to slice it up too. Throw it in. I think that's enough. That's how much I'm going to do. I will save the rest of this ginger. Figure out something to do with it. Put it in a recipe. Okay. And I just got this huge bag of pre-peeled garlic from Costco. Of course, you could, spend the time peeling your own garlic, but I'm just going to take the easy way, and I bought this bag of garlic. So I'm just going to throw in a good couple small handfuls of garlic. And now I will just sprinkle in a little bit of the turmeric, probably about, I'm going to do maybe about a tablespoon actually. And then I'm going to get this cleaned up, and then we will add the honey and the apple cider vinegar. So I'm going to measure the amount that I'm putting in. Oh, the other thing you can add to this too is whole peppercorns. So I have those. So I have this little grinder thing that you can get from Costco. So I can get it open. I'm going to go ahead and throw in just about a tablespoon of whole peppercorns. And that adds, just a little more spice to it. All right, that's cup number 2 of the vinegar. So I think I'm going to stop there and do the honey and make sure I have enough room for all of it. Uh-oh. And I'm going to go take care of Miss Lucy real quick. Okay, Miss Lucy went down for her nap. And now I'm going to add 2 cups of honey to this. And so yeah, I didn't want to add 3 cups of the cider or the apple cider vinegar until I knew I was going to have enough space, because I don't think I'm going to have enough space for all of that. We'll see. We'll see. So get the honey in there. Let's see the measurements on the side. There's, I think, all right, I'm going to try it. Maybe I can do half a cup. That's what I'll do. I'm going to do half a cup of cider. Oops. Oh my goodness. And I'm making a mess. Actually, let's do a whole cup. And I think we'll do it. And then, so here in this half-gallon jar, you can fit 3 cups of vinegar and 3 cups of honey, along with all of the things I added. Beautiful. Okay, now I'm going to get the lid on, And then with this, you can just like, turn it upside down. Probably what I will do throughout the course of the day is just kind of give it a good little turn, mix, so that it all gets really well incorporated. And then this is going to ferment, and you'll just want it to be in a nice kind of cool, dark place. And this will start fermenting. Okay, so the fire cider is all done. And like I said, I'm going to go ahead and just give this a little shake and quite a few times throughout the day today to make sure everything gets, like the honey and the apple cider vinegar, get really well incorporated. And then every day I'm going to open up the lid a little bit and just let a little bit of the gases out that are going to start forming from the fermentation process. And I've read that you can let it ferment for just 2 weeks. Everything kind of said 2 to 4 weeks. I'm probably going to let this go the full 4 weeks before I consider it ready to start consuming. So, but yeah, everything I've read said 2 to 4 weeks to let this ferment. Once it's done fermenting, you do not have to store it in the fridge. You can leave it out in a nice, cool, dark place so you can keep it in your pantry. And then, I read that you can take like a teaspoon or 2 teaspoons at a time. One site recommended taking 1 teaspoon a day just to help boost your immune system. So yeah, there it is. Like I said, I've never made it. I've never tried it. So I will try to remember when it's done fermenting to give it a little taste here in one of my videos and let you know how it is. I have a feeling it's going to be very potent, which is kind of what you want when you're taking something when you're sick. I could just see how this would be very, if you have a stuffy nose, if your sinuses are stuffed up, how this would be really beneficial. So, and of course, there's just lots of good stuff in it. So there it is. I'm going to let this start fermenting. And now let's make the fermented honey garlic or garlic honey. The other thing is too is I'm going to write on the lid when I made this and when it's going to be ready to go. So I'm just going to use a little dry erase marker and I'm just going to put today's date and then I'll put ready on October 8th. That way I just don't have to second guess myself when I made this. Okay. Now for the fermented honey garlic. So this, there's really no, you really don't have to measure. I'm just going to eyeball it. I'm going to fill this jar about halfway full of garlic. Woo! And I'm throwing garlic everywhere. Oh my goodness. Okay. So yeah, you can make this in any size jar you want. If you want a smaller amount, you can definitely make this in a pint jar, even a half pint jar. And one thing that's wonderful about this is it's not just for it's not just like a home remedy. This is wonderful. I've heard so many people who say that they'll blend the garlic and the honey up together. They'll take a little bit out and they'll make it into a salad dressing. Like they'll make it into, they'll add oil and stuff to make a yummy salad dressing. So yeah, you can look up recipes for what to do with the, I've heard someone say that they'll blend it up and then put it as a marinade on chicken, which sounds absolutely wonderful. So I say make a nice big batch of this stuff because it's not just for a home remedy. And so the same thing as with the fire cider. This is going to ferment for about 4 weeks before you want to start using it. And that honey's going to take a little while to come out. Yeah, so it'll take about 4 weeks. And this is another thing you're going to want to kind of turn it upside down, move it around every single day, open the lid up a little bit just in case there's any gases forming. The last time I made this, I didn't burp it enough. And at one point there was like a sticky, garlicky, honey, mess coming out of the top. So make sure you burp it so you don't have that happen. And yeah, and then when you want to use it, you can, like say, eat one of the garlic cloves every day, just to help boost your immune system. Make sure you take the garlic clove out with a little spoonful of the honey with it. And you'll find that the honey is going to thin out a lot. Like it's going to become very liquidy. It's not going to stay really thick. And what else? But yeah, or you can just take it when you're sick. Like of course, the garlic is helpful when you have a cold. And then the honey will also, if you have respiratory, sore throat, things like that, the honey helps to kind of soothe that. So just a really nice, easy home remedy to have on hand. And it's like perfectly safe. It's one of those things where, you don't have to question. It's garlic and honey. It's like you don't have to question whether or not it's safe or not. So anyways, I'm just filling this, just fill it up. But you do leave some space in this because you do want to have space for turning. When you turn the jar, that there's space for everything to move around. So I'm just going to take a wooden spoon and kind of push everything around to make sure that the honey's getting into all the gaps. So you really just want to make sure that the garlic cloves are covered in the honey. So yeah, just get that spoon in there to push it all around. And I think that's about good. Okay, let's wipe this rim off, the honey off of there. And put the lid on. And then, like I said, I just, once a day, I will turn it upside down and let everything fall down that way. And then later on, I will go and turn it back over. And I'll just do that until, things are really well, once things really start to ferment, you might not have to do that as much. But yeah, just keeps things nice and coated, make sure everything is mixed up well. And then also make sure you burp the lid at least once a day to make sure you're not going to get sticky, garlicky honey coming out of the jar. All right, and then on this one, I am going to write the date as well. And again, this one you will not have to store in the fridge. You can leave it in a nice, cool, dark place in your pantry and just use as needed. Okay, so here is our fire cider. So you can see that a little better with all of the good garlic, onion, jalapenos, ginger, oranges, lemons, and peppercorns, turmeric. So that's going to be fermenting for the next 4 weeks. And of course, our honey garlic, it's going to be fermenting. Turn that upside down. Okay, so here are a couple of really simple, really easy home remedies for cold and flu season. And I will keep you posted. As I said, this is my first time making the fire cider. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to when it's ready so that I can give it a try. If you've made the fire cider before, let me know down in the comments. Let me know like what ingredients, how different ingredients that you used, and then how you enjoyed it, if you liked it and how it was. And then also if you've made the fermented honey garlic before, let me know in the comments below. And yeah, let me know if there's anything, like I mentioned, using it as a marinade, using it as a salad dressing, along with just using it as an immune booster. But if there's any other ways that you've used it that are really cool, let me know in the comments below. So I hope you guys are having a wonderful September so far and are looking forward to fall coming up. Make sure if you're going to make these, make them soon, just so you have that good 4-week time period before it gets cold for these to ferment and be ready to go. So I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, share with someone else you think would enjoy it, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.